Cuckoo. Hi everybody and welcome back to Cheza Cheza. The next thing that we want to do is create a script for our monster so that we can code behavior for the monster. Let's go ahead and open the monster scene like that. And we don't want to make any changes here. What we want to do is click on this icon for the scroll right here. It says attach a new script, and then for the path, remember to save it in scripts, which is our folder for the scripts, and say create. So in this script, the first thing we want to do is get rid of all this code, and then we want to first declare two variables that are going to be exported so that we're able to set them in the inspector. So the first variable, we want to say export integer variable speed, and also export integer, which is a number, variable gravity. And then we're going to declare two more variables here, velocity, which is equal to vector2, and we have another variable called facing that we're going to use to determine which side the character is facing, whether it's to the right or to the left. So we're just going to say 1. Next, we want to create our function for physics process, and here the first thing we want to do, access sprite dot flip on the horizontal axis, and we're going to say is equals to velocity on the x-axis is greater than 0. And then so that the monster is also affected by gravity, we want to say velocity on the y-axis is equals to gravity applied by delta. And then finally, movement or velocity on the x-axis is going to be speed multiplied by the direction that the monster is facing. So below that, we want to write velocity is equals to move and slide. And in here, we pass two values, which is velocity and vector2. And the values here are 0 and -1. So next, you want to have this bit of code here. And basically, what this piece of code is doing is checking the number of collisions between the monster and the various other objects in the level, and determining that if the monster is indeed colliding with the player, then the hard function for player should be called. Next, we have this bit of code here that says that once the monster collides with something, the direction that that monster is facing should be changed. And lastly, we want to say that if position on the y-axis is greater than, let's say, 3000, then we remove the monster from the level Q3. This bit of code here, what it does is, in case the monster should fall off of a platform, we don't want, let's say we have very many monsters in our level. If all of them fall off the platforms, we don't want them still being carried in memory. So if a monster is below this 3000 pixels, all we want to do is get rid of it, free up some bit of memory for our other things in the level. The next thing that we want to do is go into the scene for monster, and at the top here next to inspector there is the tab called node, and in node we're going to go into groups, and here we want to create a group called enemies like that, and we want to add that group such that the monster is in this group called enemies. Then we go back to our script at the top here, and we want to write the function for the monster taking damage. So we go ahead and write function take damage. Then we want the animation player to play the animation called dead. Next thing we want to do is disable the collision shape, like remove the collision shape altogether, because we are going to be removing the monster. Then we also remove the collision shape. So collision shape 2D dot disable, and we set that to equals to true. And then finally set physics process to false. The next thing that we want to do is now connect the animation finish signal for monster. So we're going to go to monster, and then for animation player, we connect this function here, animation finished. So say connect and click yes. Then here where it says pass, just remove that bit of code. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and check if the animation is the same as dead. And what we want to do is we want to check if animation name is the same as dead. We go ahead and say Q free, and I just missing a semicolon there. So what this bit of code means is that once the enemy takes damage, or once a money pounds on the enemy, the animation for dead is going to be played, and then we check to see if this animation has been played to its completion, and once it's been played to completion, we again say Q free, which now removes that specific monster from the scene. From there, the next thing that we want to do is going to the script for our money. We're going to go all the way to the function for physics process, and below here, after calling the hard function, we want to add just a bit of code. So what we want to do is go ahead and check if the collision is between a money and an object that is in the enemies group that we've just created. So if collision dot collider dot is in group, and the group right here is enemies, we want to create a variable for a money's feet. We say a money feet, and we want to say a money feet is the bottommost part of the collision shape. So variable a money feet is equals to plus, we reference the collision shape to D, collision shape to D dot shape dot extents dot Y, and then down here now we go ahead and say if a money feet is less than collision dot collider dot position dot Y. What we want to do is collision dot collider dot take damage. This take damage is this function right here, and then we go ahead and add that velocity dot Y is equals to minus 200, and then finally here we're going to have an else statement that says if a man's feet are not below the Y position of the monster and is a collision still, we're going to call the hard function for money. And I believe this is sufficient now for us to test our level and test our interactions with the monster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my level scene, level 01. What we want to do is have a place where we can place our monster. So, and then here I have that. I'm just realizing that we are yet to add an instance of monster in our level. So again, we open the main level and we instance a child scene, and it's going to be monster. So we just click open, and what we need to do is save such that the monster is now available in our level 01. Right there, you can see the monster is right here. So what I want to do is I want to first of all just hide these other nodes so that I'm able to select monster easily. Now I'll make them visible once more, and then I want to move my monster here such that it's between these two high tiles. When you're placing your monster in the scene or in the level, make sure that it's between two obstacles like this, such that it gets to this obstacle, it bumps into it and changes direction and starts moving in the opposite direction, just as we wrote in the code. So now I'm going to go ahead and test this. All right, here we go. I'm in my level. Let me just see if I'll be able to get to the monster, and if the monster has been loaded onto the scene. So there's the monster, but at first glance, oops. So let's try that again. I'm in my level. Let me just play till where the monster is. Oops, I'm getting hurt. Yes, here's the monster. At first glance, the monster doesn't seem to be moving, but at least you can see that the animation is playing like this, that subtle green. Now, what I want to test is whether the take damage function is being called and if it's working properly. So should be able to pounce on the monster. Yes, I've been able to pounce, and yes, the monster is taken away, disappears from the scene. Off the top of my head, I think that the reason that the monster is not moving is that there's some variables I exported in the code and I haven't set them in the inspector. So let me just try and do that. So we're back in the script for monster, and as you can see here, there's two variables that we exported. This export means that they'll be set in the inspector. Go into monster. On the main node, you can see the value for speed and for gravity. So speed, we can set it at 250. Gravity can be 400. So let me just go ahead and test this again to see if now the monster is going to be moving. There is the monster, and we can just observe the behavior from a distance. You can see that once the monster gets to the end of or to an obstacle, it changes direction and starts moving in the opposite direction. You can go ahead and pounce on the monster. Oops, I missed. For some reason, it seems that the dead animation is not getting played, right? So I might need to go back into the animations to sort that out. So that's about it for this video. Don't forget to like the video. Also, if you'd like to see more content coming up, please subscribe. And lastly, if you have friends that you think will enjoy learning about game development, please share this video with them. I'd be really appreciative if this tutorial got to as many aspiring developers as possible. Thank you, and see you in the next one.